Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Not Content Podcast. My name is Jerome Q-Son, joined as always by Brian. Please leave a 4 or 5 star review on Apple and Spotify to get those algorithms going. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. Click the bell icon for notifications. This month, we are going to be doing a tribute to Rob Reiner. We are going to begin with the right match, so we're going a little bit out of order. Uh, Stand By Me is technically the first movie chronologically that we should be reviewing, but we're not, because Andre the Giant was a prominent part of The Princess Bride, a movie that came out in 1987. Generally regarded as one of the best movies ever, maybe a perfect script, perhaps. But we are going to be discussing Andre the Giant, his match at Survivor Series 1987 that helped set up the rematch with Hulk Hogan at the very first, the main event, not Saturday, not to be confused with the Saturday night's main event. This was one of the most watched wrestling matches of all time. And what happens at Survivor Series 87 with Andre and Hulk has a lot to do with it. So we are going to discuss, again, the main event of Survivor Series 1987. But Brian, unfortunately, before we do, we have been doing this way too often. We cannot get into our topic because we've had an unfortunate passing. And in this case, we have to talk about Catherine O'Hara because between Beetlejuice and Home Alone, like those are the two quintessential things that I associate her with. Not to mention SCTV, her run on Schitt's Creek, just somebody that it only recently felt like we were giving the proper amount of respect to. So, Brian, I don't want to talk about it very long, but Catherine O'Hara, just it sucks, man. It really sucks.
I'll say this: you haven't seen Best in Show yet, but I think next month might be the month for a little Christopher Guest kind of month. I think might be the right time to do it. Right, like Spinal Tap's not on the list for us right now, but we could definitely do that next month and tie it into a Best in Show, Mighty Win, Waiting for Guffman, because those three movies are really funny. But I think Best in Show is one of the all-time, like maybe top 20 comedies of all time. And I think Catherine O'Hara has a lot to do with that. Of course, Eugene Levy's in that too, but Catherine O'Hara was just so great in that movie. There's this one moment in the movie where it's this ecstatic joy, a joyous moment, and it's one of those all-time favorite movie moments of mine where a character's like celebrating something, and I could just picture Catherine O'Hara screaming to the top of her lungs with so much excitement and joy and happiness. And that's the moment that I remember like her face the most. And I know it's like Home Alone and all that kind of thing, and I just watched SCTV lately in the last couple of years. But for some reason, that moment of Best in Show, I'll always remember her face being so happy. Spoiler alert, she wins, but the way in which she wins is like really just like a great moment. So I just always remember that moment in film history. Um, it was one of those underrated moments too. And of course, like with this SCTV clips going around nowadays, like with John Candy, of course. I went on a run back in 2020. I went on this YouTube run. I know you. I know Jerome's kind of tempted to do that as well. Now that everything's kind of coming together, and especially with John Flaherty's passing recently, or last year, or whatever it was. All these SCTV guys are getting to that age. You know what I'm saying? And Martin Short's getting to that age, and some of the other actors as well. But it's just, man, it's crazy to think that was 50 years ago. And they all got their start, and Catherine O'Hara was right there with them, and Hale Ramis is gone. You know what I mean? It's like, wow. John Candy gone. They're all, our idols are starting to fall slowly but surely. But that's the price of growing old, right? Like that's kind of what you have to do with or deal with when you have your idols all your life to deal with, and then all of a sudden they pass. So it's part of growing up, but it's unfortunate. And I'll miss Catherine O'Hara a lot because not only that, she was probably one of my first crushes as a kid because, like, she had that mom look, you know what I mean? Kind of like that bewitched kind of feel to it, but she was kind of hot
I
too as
mean, the
well.
thing about her is like, I mean, Home Alone is something that we're going to be continuing to watch, and so in some ways, like she's gonna live forever because of Home Alone. Like any, if you're in a really good Christmas movie, like that's the thing. Because you think about It's a Wonderful Life. I mean, It's a Wonderful Life is has just aired in perpetuity, and in so many ways, it keeps Jimmy Stewart and Donna Reed and so many of those other people alive. And that's it. It sucks, but at least we have, and that's the nice thing about when you're talking about a performer like her, is that there's a lot of richness and there's so much that you can pull from and so much still to see. And like you said, probably an SCTV run forthcoming in my future. So yeah, unfortunately, Catherine O'Hara. I also want to mention Beetlejuice is a bad movie, but I think Catherine O'Hara is really good in it, and it is almost worth suffering through the movie at least one time to see the greatness that is Catherine O'Hara. That's my opinion.
For the record, I watch every movie in the theater stoned, but I was laughing my ass off during a lot of that movie, and it had a lot to do with the performances. The script's not that great, but the performances are where comedic performances should be, I think, and that's what got me. And a lot of people were laughing in my theater just for a little defense, just for a little defense.
I mean, there's people that are gonna enjoy the movie, and there were some funny parts. It's just the movie never came together. But I digress. Again, we will probably be talking about Catherine O'Hara at some point in some tribute form. It's going to happen. One more thing to say: I don't care how bad Spaceballs 2 is. We all need to come together and rejoice that Rick Moranis is gracing us with his presence in one more movie. And I genuinely mean that because he doesn't owe us anything. Like the fact that he literally left Hollywood to take care of his kids after his wife had died of cancer, the man pretty much gets a hall pass from me.
Right. And as I texted before, I felt like Spaceballs 2 now that with the death of Catherine O'Hara and with the connections to SCTV with John Candy and Rick Moranis and of course Mel Brooks' legacy, it's like the culmination of the two legacies coming together and kind of ending at the same time. Especially with that Mel Brooks two-part documentary that came out on HBO. I want to watch it so bad, but I'm scared to, and I think you know why. The man is 99 years old. William Shatner's 93 years old. Dick Van Dyke is 100 and he's still doing Pilates or something. I don't know, but you know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
look,
It's like
Dick Van Dyke made it to 100, so I feel like
and
it's
he made it
okay.
to an athletic 100 as well. He's very like still like mentally sound, and so I don't know. It's very weird, but I
It is weird. It is.
knock on wood, man, because once you get to that 99, Jesus Christ. But Mel Brooks, man, he's definitely not the athletic 99, but man, God bless the guy.
All right. So before we get into the Princess Bride, Brian, without looking and without cheating, can you name the 10 participants in the Survivor Series 87 match? Even though you just watched it, can you do it?
Yes, I can. Okay, so the bad guy team: Andre the Giant, King Kong Bundy, One Man Gang, Rick Rude, and Butch Reed against Hulk Hogan, Paul Orndorff, uh, Don Muraco, Ken Patera, and who's the 10th guy? Was that
How
it?
can you forget the guy that Andre the Giant beat last?
Oh, sorry, Bam Bam. It gets confusing because in the build up to this match, it was supposed to be superstar Billy Graham, and I always get confused because I don't think it was supposed to be Paul Orndorff.
Did Morocco replace? Morocco's the one who replaced Graham, right?
Okay, yeah, and then it got confusing because Paul Orndorff did another babyface turn in like less than 2 years, so you don't know if he's
So
doing like the
here's
Nikita
my
Koloff
thing.
thing.
Here's the thing that always confuses the hell out of me, Brian, is I know that Paul Orndorff was a heel, turned babyface, turned heel, had that run with Hogan in 87, was the backup match for WrestleMania 3. When did the babyface happen turn in late 87? Because I watched the show and I'm like, what the hell happened?
Okay, so I went on this like not superstars, primetime wrestling run a couple years ago. So basically, it's kind of like the same thing happened. Like he just
Jesus
Bobby
Christ.
Heenan loses faith in one of his guys, and it's the same thing that happened, and it kind of happens again, especially with Rick Rude coming in because that kind of ties in the Rude Bobby Heenan connection, right? And then it's kind of a swap.
So was
You
the
know what I mean?
idea that Rick Rude and Paul Orndorff are going to feud, but they never did because Orndorff is pretty much gone
Well,
at this
they
point, right?
kind of did on the house loop, and then I found some cage matches on some searches on the WWF on YouTube late nights when you just type in WWF cage matches, and that came up, and it was like late '87. So there was like a house show feud with Rude and Paul Orndorff. We just never got it on TV. Like I'm sure, like you know how like that match was like Ricky Steamboat and Rick Rude at the Royal Rumble. I'm 90% sure if Paul Orndorff was still there, that would have been Paul Orndorff's spot. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, because Orndorff is gone.
that would
Like
make more sense than
basically,
just
this
a
is
random
his.
Ricky Steamboat match.
I
So
mean, it's wild to think about, but this is like this Paul Orndorff's last WWF pay per view ever.
I had to
So
think about that for a second because I was like, wait a minute. Oh, he's
he
been on other pay-per-views, but it's been WCW.
yeah,
So yeah, you're
he
right.
had that
You're
really
right.
boring run in WCW that I mean, it feels like he was the opener in every WCW pay per view in the mid '90s, and none of the matches were that great. I'm not a big Paul Orndorff fan, honestly, but I digress again. Here we go. Let's talk about this match. So this is the very first Survivor Series, and I think there's a couple notable things about the show that are not related to this match. The Jumping Bomb Angels pretty much reinvented professional wrestling in the United States in their match, and I can't help like I remember when I first watched this show because I mean like you have a very specific stereotype about the women's matches, especially when Moolah's involved. But I mean the Jumping Bomb Angels like you want to talk about stealing the show. Like people talk about stealing the show now. I don't think people would. I don't think people could process the idea of stealing the show until you watch something like this when they're literally doing shit that the dudes are not doing in the United States for like 5 to 6 years in a lot of cases.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a unsung match because I've seen that match so many times. Because every time I watch Survivor Series '87, I always want to watch that women's tag match, and it's always because of the Bomb Angels and how it seems like the way the commentary is, they're low key not expecting this to be good, but then once the
Oh
Bomb Angels
no,
come in,
you
Jesse
need to
Ventura just
listen. You need
loses
to
it.
listen to Jesse because Jesse absolutely
He
is
loses
into
it.
it.
Yeah,
Yes,
but that's when they come in. Like at first, at the beginning of the match, it seemed like they were just going to be like low hum about it, right? But then once they come in, Jesse just becomes like this biggest fan, and I think that adds to the match because like if you impress Jesse, you're really impressing somebody, especially like in the '80s, because he's like it's either you got to be a really big muscular dude to impress him, or just really super athletic in the ring. And like for example, like the Brian Pillman Liger match, he was over in the moon for Liger
and I
after that,
mean,
right?
and he's also a heel commentator, so you have to take that into account as well. Like that's
Right,
part of
and he's putting over the babyface tag team in the Bomb Angels. So yeah, that was definitely a change of pace. And of course, if you want to take that further, you watch that Royal Rumble match, and that's about it on the Bomb Angels run. They kind of gave up on the tag division for
there
the
is
women
a
after that because
story.
there's no one
I'm not going
else.
to relay the story, but if you can ever hear, find the story about how the Jumping Bomb Angels were supposed to be on WrestleMania 4 and why they weren't. It is a whole big thing that I would highly recommend people find the
I don't even
story.
think they would have had time, like literally
Well,
had
listen,
time.
I feel like the Laps fan. I think they talked about it on the WrestleMania 4 podcast, but it's definitely been addressed, or maybe even on the Rumble '88 show. So find it somewhere. Also, a 20-man tag as well, a 37-minute 20-man tag on the show.
Okay, so I just want to point out really quick the edited version that I saw as a kid, like the 2 hour version of the VHS, had this random cut where the Bulldogs just disappeared from the match. And years later, when they dropped this on the network, I finally had the answer to it. And I guess he busted it. It looks like he got his head busted open. I think, right? Like that's what happened. And they just like, oh,
Right.
let's just cut this out, and they just eliminated him completely from the tape.
So the funny thing to me is like so the Survivor Series '87 and '88 have this same match basically. It's basically the same people with a couple of exceptions. But like the '88 match is the one that everyone remembers because number one, the double turn, number two, the conquistadors. I could not tell you anything about this match. Like it is extremely forgettable.
Well, to me, it's like the middle of the Hart Foundation Strike Force feud. Like,
Right.
if you got to put that in perspective,
Like this
um,
is just before Demolition. Like Demolition is
yeah, like I think
not
like
a
three
thing.
weeks
I mean, I think they
before.
debuted already, but they're not in this match, of course.
Yeah, and I think they got DQ'd in this, which is perfect because that's what you want to do with
Yes.
Demolition in a match like this. But I
Right. They
believe
were
weeks
in this match,
before,
but you know what I mean? Like not
yeah,
prominently featured.
and Strikeforce just won the tag titles recently, and it was I think that was the shocker because it was like Tito and Rick Martel were just kind of like a thrown together tag team,
Right, because
and
it
then
was
all of a
supposed to
sudden,
be Martel and Zink.
oh, that story, that those stories, if you want to dig
Yes.
down that rabbit hole, but you know, maybe it worked out for the best because I think he had better chemistry with Tito anyway.
I mean,
But they
Tito
just didn't last
Santana has
long.
chemistry with everybody. I mean, Tito Santana might be one of the most underrated guys that we just don't talk about enough.
I'm a mixed bag. Just I'm a mixed bag on some of his
He's
stuff because
he is so good. Like I just
I think at a certain point, if he goes 20 minutes, it's a little too much for me. Like those 20-minute matches with Greg
but
Valentine.
like he's I mean, he's you can't find somebody he's had a band. Like I feel like even if you watch like his match with like Barbarian at WrestleMania 6, I feel like you're getting something much better than it should be because of Tito. All right, let's focus on the main event. The main event is a lot of really fat guys, especially on the heel team, and they're clearly trying to get Bam Bigelow over, and that's why he kind of survives until the end. Like he gets put out by Andre, but clearly being positioned as the number two babyface. which I have to say, in thinking about and doing a cursory amount of research, is there a bigger curse in the 1980s than being the number two babyface to Hulk Hogan? Do you want to go over the
I'm not.
list?
I'm not sure because in this case, it's not Hogan's fault. It's Andre's fault. You
No,
know
no,
that
no. It
story,
is
right?
not. I'm not blaming Hogan. I'm not necessarily blaming Andre. I'm just saying the general idea of being the number two babyface to Hulk Hogan is a curse.
I would say that, yeah, because you either end up turning on him in a tag match, or
Well, let's literally look at what happened to the number two baby faces. Let's start with Junkyard Dog, Drugs and Dead by 2000.
but I
If you
don't think
want
he
to say
was ever positioned to be higher than Hogan, though, right? Like,
no,
I
but
mean,
I'm
he
saying
could
like
have.
the number two baby face. He
All right,
was
okay,
the
just in
number two
general that
baby
they're
face.
cursed. Okay, I get you. I get you. Okay, so
So
that's like
yeah, I mean
85,
he's
86.
cursed. Jake the Snake Roberts gets legitimately hit with a guitar. Is pretty much never the same again. Really bad drugs. Somehow still with us, by the way. Just want to point that out. Brutus the Barber Beefcake almost had his wrestling career ended in a very tragic fashion. Bam Bam Bigelow was gone within months. Also had his life end in a rather tragic way. I would argue the Ultimate Warrior was also a number two babyface. Look what happened to him. The Macho Man, look what happened to him. I mean, I guess he didn't necessarily like have a really tragic ending, but a lot of premature death, which you could argue is like a wrestling thing at this point. But it feels like all of the number two baby faces to Hogan died before Hulk Hogan did.
Sid Justice as well. Forgot that Sid Justice. Um,
Also, Hulk Hogan just barely outlived him. That is correct.
yeah, and he was the number two babyface, and that's why their whole feud got because he was pissed about it. So yeah,
I mean, Roddy
it's a
Piper,
thing.
you could argue Roddy Piper was as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Man, I guess
God,
it
the
is a curse,
press.
man. Jesus, and
See, you didn't even realize it until I just started
I
going through
mean,
the.
when you point it out like that, Jesus, yeah, it's true. Especially because I was thinking more in the tongue-in-cheek way of like all his friends turn on him in a tag match, and that sets up a WrestleMania match or something, which has happened like 3 or 4
I mean,
times.
that's what Hogan was known for. Essentially,
Yeah,
was like the only reason to be friends with Hulk Hogan is inevitably to turn on him because
and you would think based on the booking that Bam Bam, if he would have stayed, was going to turn on Hogan like a year later anyway, right? Because that's just
I
the MO.
mean maybe that I mean you also have to figure like if not for being his own tragic death, like maybe Bruiser Brody comes in for the Hogan run around if not this time, then maybe into 88, 89.
That's a tough sell because I don't know if he'll. I mean,
I mean the thing is like, but the thing is like the thing that's always been stated, like he knew that he had the Hogan run like in his back pocket. If he wanted like his big last run of paydays before he goes off into the sunset, he does the Hogan run, which totally makes sense. Like you don't job so that when you go and do the WWF run, like you collect a shit ton of money, do the job for Hogan, and then you're set.
yeah, I just can't picture Brody on the road though. That's the thing. Is like, is he going to play ball on the road? You know what I mean with that WWF schedule?
I think if at
Maybe
a
they give him
certain
a
point
limited
he's like,
schedule.
if he's like, you know what, I have a year left. This is it. I'm going to do my 1 year. Sign this contract. I'll put Hogan all over everywhere. I think he would have done it.
That's kind of what Andre did in his last 2 years. Because, like, if you look at the schedule, folks, he only had 3 televised matches in 1987, 5 non-televised matches, but he kind of stopped wrestling September of '86 up until that Battle Royal because of an injury and some surgeries. Of course, he was filming the movie for Princess Bride,
Yep.
but that time off kind of gave him the energy to go '88 and '89, basically, right? Like that's kind of what the payoff was. That time
And the
off to
matches
go last 2 years.
were quite. I mean, just he was able to go on that run, but boy, the matches were not good. Like those 88 matches with
I know.
Hogan.
It's bad. Yeah.
Woof.
And the
Just
Warrior
woof.
matches were not that great either, despite being so highly
At least they
profiled
were
at Madison
short.
Square Garden.
At least they were
Yeah,
short.
yeah, yeah.
So in terms of this match, I mean, there really isn't a lot to say. I mean, this is infamously Hogan doesn't win, so that is probably notable in its own right. And Hogan basically gets counted out. He's kicking too much ass on the outside, including the one man gang. So that's worth noting. And he just body slams people and then leaves. And then after the match, and this and maybe this is why everybody in the 1980s is such a douchebag. Like, of course, Hogan comes out. He has to be a sore loser and attack on him.
Yeah, and Andre won clean, by the way, and
Yeah, Andre did
Jesse
nothing
Ventura.
wrong.
Yeah, Jesse Ventura, of course, is going nuts on commentary, saying, "What the hell is
Rightfully
Hogan
so.
doing?" Yeah, and
Like he's
steals the
right. Andre
thunder.
didn't cheat at
Yeah,
all. Like it's
because the
fine.
idea is you got to send the crowd out happy, even though Andre just won the match, and you know what I mean? Is like
Like if Andre
it's a
was beating
compromise.
up Bam Bam after the match, then I could see this. I could see them logically doing this, but he's
Yeah, that
not.
would have made more sense. That would have made more sense, but the timing, and I also want to point out this show has weird lighting. The
It
first
is.
two
Yes,
matches,
it is.
so the first two matches have regular lighting where you can see everything like standard late '80s WWF lighting. But then the second half goes to like Madison Square Garden dark lighting, which I've always hated. And I know it's like a
It
Knicks tradition and all
literally,
that.
it literally looks like two different venues. Because I know exactly what you're
Yeah,
saying.
that always tripped me out as a kid, man. Like always. And I don't know why they did it. They decided to do it like at the beginning of the tag, the 20 or the 10 team tag match. And I don't know why, but it just kind of threw me off. And I don't know what it was, but they
I
go to
mean,
that
maybe they
building the
were
next
trying to
year, I
fool
think.
people into thinking it was Starcade, and they were going from two different venues.
Oh my God, I guess. And that's the whole other thing we forgot to mention. This was going against Starcade 87 and totally destroyed their buy rate. Helped the cable
Not, I
companies
mean,
up.
nobody. What buy rate? There was no buy rate because Starcade wasn't shown anywhere. I mean, this
So
show was
basically,
designed
McMahon
to
said
fuck with.
you're either going to show the WWF pay per view or you're not going to get WrestleMania, and held a lot of
And
you
there
know.
are a couple of cable systems that showed both, and they of course got WrestleMania
And
because
supposedly, what I've heard the Meltzer story is that I guess his friend got it up in like somewhere in Sacramento, and he
right, he
drove,
happened to literally be in the one place where he could watch both.
and he ended up watching both live or something, which is cool because for a fan in '87, like I'm sure a lot of people would have double dipped, but they were not given the chance to because of this bullshit.
Absolutely, in 1987, people would have absolutely lived to this point. I mean,
And they gave him the time because they changed the Starcade change like they changed the time so you can watch
right.
both. They
I mean, the
designed it
problem
that
is the
way.
Starcade show was really bad. I
Well,
mean,
I wouldn't
Survivor
say
Series
really bad.
'87
I
was
think
good.
it's just it got played out because there was nothing. It was all the feuds from the summer that were already kind of done, and the one feud
Well,
that you
and
wanted to see was the
the
Road
Road
Warriors
Warrior,
win, and
they fucked over the Road Warriors, and the Dusty cage match was weird, and Ronnie Garvin is a terrible idea for champion. So yeah, there's a lot of weirdness,
then
but
people argue that it should have been buried in that spot, but I don't know. And they might have hurt Barry worse, I think, but I don't
I
know.
don't know.
It would have been a better match, but you know what I'm saying. But
It would have been. So let's in thinking about this main event, there's really not too much memorable about it. Like Rick
well, I'll
Rude
say this:
basically
Rude is like the
jobbing.
smallest dude, but if you put him in the Dangerous Alliance, he's the biggest dude. So I want to put that in
I mean,
perspective.
he's also a little bit more gassed up, if you know what I mean, in 1992 as
Right,
well.
and I don't think like at a certain point you notice Rick Rude. I hate to say this and break the magic, folks, but he wears lifts at a certain point. If you notice that,
I haven't,
and he
but
gets
it's
taller.
something I should notice.
But it's not like in this match in particular because in this match he's like going fast and he's going like really fast at the beginning, and it's kind of like NWA Rude, right? Because he just transitioned. Because that NWA Rude was like thinner and like he was able to go in the ring more and he was able to be thrown around more by the Road Warriors, not as much as like when he got bigger in the early '90s. But yeah, he was going super fast. I just feel bad for Butch Reed because he got kind of like nothing to do. He just got in there, got beat up, and got his paycheck and got out. But everyone kind of had some shine to him too. Um, and one man gang, like I gotta say, he got two victories in this, so good for him. And I know people like to say that Akeem's the better character, but whatever, man. I'm
I
a one
want
man
to I
gang
want to
guy.
know who's saying that because they're wrong.
Oh, I got some friends that are totally sports entertainment people, and they're just saying like he's more entertaining, and they
Well, they're
love the
wrong.
dancing.
They're
Yeah, I
absolutely
know,
wrong.
I know. I'm an old school guy, so I'm on Team One Man Gang. So, but overall, this is a fun match. It's like a 3 star out of 5, right? It's not like a technical classic, but it's
It is
it's fun to
it is
watch.
definitely
It has
not
a
a
lot of
technical
energy to
classic.
it, and it doesn't really like slow down at all up until maybe the end when everyone's like fat and kind of gassing out by the end. But that's just because
I mean, it went
the
into
end of the
Andre
match,
and Bam Bam, of course, because Andre can barely move.
and they only move, he leaves his feet one time, folks, and that's just to drop Bam Bam to the ground and pin him, and that was it. But that's all you need
Smart,
to
a
be a
very
superstar
smart idea.
attraction. Yeah, so fun match.
All right, let's talk about Princess Bride. At this stage of Rob Reiner's career, he has directed This is Spinal Tap, Stand By Me. As much as we think of this as a modern classic, one of the best movies of all time, like flat out, this is on the Criterion Collection. Like, I can't imagine not loving this movie. This was not a box office success, and part of me just wonders what the hell were people doing in 1987 because like I don't see it, man. Like I just don't see how this wasn't a totally successful bonanza of a movie.
Well, to me, this always feels like a rental movie, even though it's on TV a lot. And I don't know what it is, but like something about the characters is what draws me in. It's like the Mummy, right? Like, it's not for me. The Mummy is not like a great movie, but it's a great cast and it's a great performances and it's the chemistry, right? I think that's the similar situation
I
here.
think this script is 100 million times better than the Mummy.
Wow. See, I'm not even that high on the script. You know what I mean? Like, I think the script is
I
just
think
like,
you're genuinely insane.
I
This
don't know.
is
It just seems
this
so
is one
basic.
of the
You know what
best
I mean?
scripts of all time. That's the
Like, I feel like
point.
it, I know, but like, I feel like they could have taken the parody even further at certain points, but they
I
held
don't
themselves
think this is
back.
meant. This isn't meant to be a parody, though. This is meant to be a fairy tale written with a more modern sensibility.
I guess. I don't know. I was just expecting more of that parody feel to it, which kind of had it poked some of that, a little bit of that. But I just love this movie because of the performances, I think, and just the way that all the characters have this great chemistry together. And Inigo Montoya is this great like movie within a movie, almost like you almost want to see his movie, right? As well.
It's an all time great song. And Mandy
Yeah,
Patinkin is so good. Like he's done a lot of stuff. He's a really good actor. He should not necessarily be playing somebody who's Spanish necessarily, but my God, is he good in this movie? Like
dude,
it's
I can't help
transcendent.
but think like if Antonio Banderas in the '90s got this role, dude, oh my God, he would have knocked it out even more. I think, like,
I don't know that that's true.
because if you
I
add
think
that
he's
extra
that.
sex appeal to it, man, this role would have been
I
even more iconic. I think.
I don't want to picture it because I think he's so perfect in this role. I could
See,
just
that's
I don't
the one thing that's missing from Inigo Montoya is that like rugged sexiness that like a Han Solo has.
see. I don't
Manny
think
Patinkin
that's
doesn't have that. You know what I
see
mean?
to
But
me the point is you want Carrie Elwes' character to be seen as the sexy one because of the
I
chemistry
guess, but I just
with
think that
Robin
Inigo
Ray.
Montoya's charisma that he presented was so like incredible that was so like
But I
like
think
drawn in.
Mandy Patinkin's chemistry or his charisma is very different than Carrie Elwes's. Like to me, like the dynamic that they're going for, and this might not be the best example, but it's like Chris Pratt in Guardians of the Galaxy versus Batista. Like Chris Pratt is supposed to be seen as the lead, the romantic lead, and Batista's like the charismatic sidekick. And certainly like Batista and Mandy Patinkin are playing two very different roles, but like you're meant to see both of them as like they're the ones that are seeking revenge. There's a little bit more of a comedic edge to them. Like they're not supposed to be the main characters. They're supposed to be the side characters that have a dark backstory that add depth to the movie, and that's what I think they do in both cases.
Yeah, I think they just do it so well that I just want to see this origin story, man. I know that's weird, but like he's got such a great background, that character, man. And he sets it up so well in the way he talks, almost like a Jake the Snake kind of storytelling on the mic, where he's like low key and then he exaggerates at certain points to exaggerate certain things. And like,
I mean,
yeah,
from the
it's
first
great.
scene that he has with Carrie Elwes, I mean, it's again
Yeah,
that's
he's
where
so great in
the
this. I think he's like
perfection
my
of
favorite
this
performance.
the perfection of the script is in the post mountain scenes with Carrie Elwes, Manny Patinkin, Carrie Elwes and Andre, and then Carrie Elwes and Wallace Shawn. Like that to me is why the script is perfect
Oh,
because
do you know the weird connections of Wallace Shawn and the name Andre, right? You got to know this.
right because my dinner with Andre.
Right. I just find that so like oddly funny to me because I don't think a lot of people pick up on that except like smart marks like us. You know what I mean? Just like those weird connections.
I mean,
And then he's sitting
he's
there with
great.
Andre. Yeah. And then of course I forget what he says, but like Wallace Shawn has some crazy lines in this for the short time he's in it. Like he's like never uh go war with an Asian person on land or something. Like what the fuck? He's like, what the fuck is he saying? Like crazy shit like that,
I
right?
mean,
And then
it's great line delivery, the inconceivable.
like what never threaten an Italian with death or something like that or whatever it was. Like what the
I
fuck?
mean, the way he says it with conviction. I mean, it's an all timer, and we're
Yeah,
not even
conviction always helps, doesn't it?
like the thing is like the best actor in this movie, like just aside from the movie itself, like Peter Falk might be the best actor in this movie, and he's a grandpa. Like it's unbelievable. Just I
Okay, I
think he
also
got
want to
perfectly
point
crystal.
out, like, okay, in terms of the script strength, this is one of the strengths that I think the script does have. So if you eliminate the kid and the grandpa and just go into the story, I think it's very much less effective as a movie, right? Because you
In the
start like
19 in the 80s, yes. If they remade this movie, which they fucking better not ever even think about it,
no,
in
thank you.
2026 they would eliminate that part and it would ruin the movie. Like the magic of the movie
Yeah,
is
the reason I think it works is because of that. You know what I mean?
you bring in cynical 80s kids through the kid and his grandfather, because every kid is going to have the reaction of Fred Savage, and then they're going to get into the movie because it's that fucking good.
Right. And the fact that it's telling you that this is fantasy so they can get away with anything, right? So that
Right.
gives you like a pass to kind of see beneath the flaws of like some of the stuff. Like, okay, yes, it's like a mole monster or whatever it was he fought in that pit, but the makeup wasn't so great, right? But because it's like it's like a fantasy movie and it's kind of darkly lit, you kind of give it a pass. Like that's what I'm saying. Like I think that
I mean,
that
look
part
at
of it
the
kind of gives it a
castle. Look at
pass.
the set, the castle. It looks like you could see it in the 1930s or the 40s. And I again, that is by design, and I think it works because of the very reason that you're saying.
Yeah, and I think that's so key to have like that introduction at the beginning. It's like, the beginning of a fairy tale movie should have that. Not all fairy tale movies have that, but a lot of them traditionally have that opening of the book kind of gimmick, and I like that effect, and I think that adds something to a fantasy movie as well, and it adds to this as well. Um, but yeah, I think Christopher Guest, man, Jesus, has he ever played a serial killer? Because I feel like he can play a really great serial killer.
Again, there's so many amazing roles, and you could easily forget about Christopher Guest. In any other movie, we're probably starting with Christopher Guest because he's so good, just playing this very menacing character that somehow is also hilarious. Um,
And sincere. He really cares about his boss getting rest and
he
stuff.
really, really does care about his boss, and I mean, he's just a sniveling worm, and he's so good. Chris Sarandon is also really good as well in the King role. Like I can't imagine somebody else playing Prince Humperdinck. Um, I can't imagine
Man,
somebody
Chris
else.
Sarandon is like one of my unsung heroes of the '80s. Just because, like, have you seen Fright Night?
Yes, it's been a while. I know
But
I've seen.
he's so like, I love him in that movie, dude. Like, he's one of the best. Like, I know he's not Dracula, but he's one of my favorite like lead vampires in a movie. You know what I mean? Like the head vampire gimmick. He's one of my all-time favorites, and I think it's because that performance is so good, and he's so good in this, and some of the lines he's delivering. It's like I have a wife. I have to plan a murder. I have to plan a cover up of the murder. I have to plan two parties, and I have to plan a wedding. I'm swamped. That line delivery is like so sincere as well because he's really swamped. And the next scene we see him, he's like covered in papers because he's like doing three things at once. So I thought that was just hilarious because like the little attention to detail just adds to the character, and it definitely added to the character for Sarandon as the evil prince or whatever. But man, just he's so great in this, and of course Carrie Ewells, my goodness, you can see
Harry
why
is
Mel Brooks, yeah,
unbelievable.
yeah, you can see why Mel Brooks casted him in Robin Hood. He's so good in this. Uh, Man, and the whole idea of a Dread Pirate Roberts, you can't help but think of wrestling, right? In terms of like handing down the gimmicks from
Right, and
generation to
also the
generation.
idea is that I think it's meant to be a reflection of Errol Flynn as Captain Blood too. I think that's also what they're going.
Totally. Of course, yeah, that too. But I just can't help but think of, wrestling and lucha libre and like beyond a one, two, three, and four, or like Rey Mysterio Jr., Rey Mysterio Jr. Jr., or something like that. You know what I mean? Just that handing down of the
We need
gimmick
to
is
bring
just
back
like,
swashbuckling movies. I feel like Pirates of the Caribbean kind of brought it back and
uh,
then killed it again.
it's hard to do when you have like one really great franchise and everything else seems like a knockoff. And I think that's kind of, I don't know.
That is a
Because I
problem.
think Cutthroat Island wasn't really accepted at the time for some reason. I don't know why. Um, but then again, Hook was kind of a hit, so I don't know. But that's Spielberg, so it's kind
Hook
of like a hit and
is
miss.
Hook
I love
is
Hook,
a
man.
profound curiosity.
Love
We
that
have
movie
not
to
talked
death.
about Robin Wright, but I mean, apparently Carrie Elwes fell in love with her on the set, and why wouldn't you? I mean, she doesn't
Yeah,
get as much to do as you would hope, but I mean, there's a reason that she's been working for the last 40 years because she is really good. She has really good chemistry with a lot of leading men, and that's probably what's kept her relevant. And I really Like I think about the movies that even she and the shows that maybe aren't the best, but like she is so credible and powerful and strong. And even in this movie, like even though she is a princess character, she has a lot more agency than I think a lot of other actors would give.
Yeah, man. She ages like a fine wine. So does Carrie Yules, actually. They both aged very well, actually. Another thing about it, because the way Carrie looked in Stranger Things a couple years ago looked like, wow, this dude is how old? You know what I mean? Like, good for them. But yeah, you can see why that they had. I mean, especially Robin Wright, Penn. I mean, or Robin Wright, I should say. But yeah, just a legacy actress. You know what I mean? Known for so many things. She was Jenny, right? So
The
it's a
antagonist of
pleasure.
Forrest Gump, yes.
The antagonist of Force. Wow. Okay, that was harsh, but okay, I can see what you're saying.
There's a whole internet thing
Hey, I
about
thought the government was the antagonist, but okay, okay.
it. There's a
But
whole it's almost like a meme at this point, like people thinking that Jenny is the problem in that movie, and it's pretty funny.
I
I
would
don't
say
know.
some of the
I
problems,
don't
but
know necessarily that I totally agree with it, but
I
I
get the
give the
joke.
internet credit for it.
I
That's
get
for
the joke.
sure.
Yeah, but she's good in this, and I dig the way that she looks at Carrie at the beginning of the movie, and that kind of like tells you she's good at acting with her eyes. And a lot of that romance stuff is just really iconic lines about romance and stuff. It's like you could totally steal those lines and get away with it at a bar
As you wish,
or at a
meaning I
party.
love you, small timer.
Yeah, as you wish, as you wish. If you use that line at the right time with the right girl,
I mean, the
she'll
thing
get
is,
it.
we have to give a lot of credit to William Goldman, who I read his screenwriting book, and I was very impressed. Like he's very smart, and like he's done this, he's done All the President's Men, which is another all time great screenplay. So he is definitely somebody that I hold in very high regard, and um, so he won Best Original Screenplay for Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and he won for Best Adapted Screenplay for All the President's Men. And then he wrote this. He also wrote Marathon Man as well. So he's somebody that is so worth thinking about and talking about as a screenwriter because you don't have like these purely notable screenwriters. I feel like the writers that we talk about now are TV showrunners or they're writing in genre movies and stuff like that. But I mean, this guy was a pure writer of screenplays and just very well regarded. And like I said, I hold Butch Cassidy and All the President's Men in very, very high regard. This is right up there too. Like in terms of if I were to list my like 25 favorite movies, William Goldman probably has the screenplay for two of them. This and All the President's Men.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I really never looked up his career, but when you put it into perspective like that, yeah, it makes a lot of sense because looks like his name's going to come up in a lot of other stuff we're going to review in the next couple of weeks. Yeah, it looks like he's got
With
a
good
hand in
reason.
mystery.
Like you absolutely need to read his book, and everybody should read his book. Honestly, I think it's well worth reading.
For sure, and he's just a pure screenwriter, not a director. That's interesting because nowadays I'm used to the whole writer director thing, and that's kind of become the popularized
I think it's hurt
thing.
movies a lot.
Oh well, we'll see. But Ryan Coogler, man, you never know.
I think it's a problem because I don't think directors always know how to edit their scripts, and I think the magic of having a different director for a screenplay is the director putting their spin on it and
We will see
making
because
just enough changes.
I think Ryan Coogler has a big shot to do it this year. So we'll see. We'll see because he's
I mean, look,
nominated
I
for like
think
everything.
to me, Rob Reiner's not a writer. He is a director, and I think the thing that Rob Reiner is so good at is taking great scripts and making good movies. And I think this is a really good example.
100% agree. 100%.
And that's what we're going to be talking about the next 3 weeks. We will be talking about three really, really strong scripts that he directs really, really well. And I don't think that there's a magic to the direction, but there is just a competency that I don't think we always appreciate these days. Because, like I said, I think this is his best movie. I think he's had an unbelievable career. That I'm glad that people are, especially the first 10 years. Like he has certainly made some dog shit as well, but you look at the first like 11 years of his career. what a fantastic run! And like I said, we're going to be covering four of those movies in that run. Probably, I would say the peak. And this, I mean, again, this was not a box office success, but history has been very kind to this movie, and I think people in some ways hold this in the highest regard.
Um, I also think maybe the WWE has had something to do with that. Probably just the legacy of Andre, right? And people are like, "Oh,
Maybe
I've never heard of this movie. I'm gonna go watch it." And then it's like, "Oh, I've seen parts of this movie on TV or something," and then it becomes familiarized.
this movie
That's
also
kind of
gets, I
my
mean, it still gets played quite a bit on TV. And the thing about the Andre thing is worth mentioning because he is the one guy they never shat on. They never like broke up with him and then behaved like bitchy ex-girlfriends, if you know what I mean. Like with Hogan, with Warrior, with like everyone, they've always had like this point when they've been like really bitchy about them, and that includes Steve Austin and The Rock. Like I could certainly point to those moments. I can't necessarily point to Triple H, but that's for other reasons. But like with Andre, he was their first inductee into the Hall of Fame, and they had never ever buried him ever. And I think that might be part of this as well. It's like he's always been in their good graces.
and not even that, the cast of the movie. If you ever hear any interviews about Andre from the cast of the movie, they just put him over like he's the greatest of all time. You know what I mean? Like the nicest guy, the strongest guy, the most helpful guy, the guy that'll carry you around if you were drunk and passed out. You know what I mean? Like I've heard
There's some
those
really good
stories.
Andre drunk stories if you want to
Yeah,
find
and then
them, it's out there.
the story with Arnold Schwarzenegger about they go to this Mexican restaurant and spend a lot of money, and Arnold wants to pay the check, and Andre the Giant's like no, and they start having this quick fight over the check, and fucking Andre lifts Arnold, puts him on a fucking shelf, walks away, goes to pays the check. You know what I mean? Like a fucking child. So yeah, just a great guy. You know what I mean? Just a great guy.
And
So
again, I cannot emphasize enough just how perfectly cast this movie is. And again, you got to give Rob Reiner a lot of the credit for that. I mean, that's the thing. I feel like a lot of former actor directors are really good at casting. I mean, Fred Savage has his own issues as an adult, but I mean, literally, you could not pick a more perfect child for what they asked him to do, and like the transformation that he makes in his own way. I mean, it's really impressive, and the fact like it's no surprise that he would go on to star on a TV show for 7 years because you could totally see all of that personality and how good of an actor he was as a kid in this movie.
you can even see him like learning direction from him because he ended up becoming like a steady TV director that we kind of
Yeah,
didn't
and
know about
we're
for a
not
long
going to get
time.
into that. We're not going to get into
But I'm
much
just
of
saying,
it.
like, you know what I mean? Like, you can tell, like, he probably picked up a thing or two from that just a couple days on set with Rob Reiner. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's the one of those things
Yeah,
that you probably like don't realize how important it was for an actor until you realize the what it did for their entire career. So, that's my theory because it just feels like after this, it's like his career just started a trajectory upward after this movie. So,
yeah. I mean, we
yeah.
did talk about Peter Falk. I mean, Carol Kane as well. Again, a very small role, but
Oh, and Billy
uh,
Crystal. My goodness, we forgot to mention his name, but he's in
she
it.
really plays off Billy Crystal. I think.
Yeah. Liar! Liar! Yeah, that's my Carol Kane voice.
There's a lot of national treasures in this movie, and so many of them have unfortunately passed away at this point, including the director. So yeah, but it's worth noting. There's absolutely great people in this movie. Some great comedic legends, a wrestling legend, and this is a 10 out of 10 for me. This is one of my favorite movies of all time, and it is a movie that I will probably watch once a year for the rest of my life.
I'm at an 8 out of 10. It's like a really
You
strong movie
are
every time at a time.
This is
I mean,
the
it's not a
angriest I've
bad
ever been.
rating. It's like every time I'm like entertained. You know what I mean? But there's some flaws, like I mentioned, like that makeup on the puppet thing was not that great on that mold monster. But again, you can kind of see past it if you're kind of into the movie. So, but
This
it's
is
a
the
really fun
most
watch.
wrong you've ever been. That's all I'm gonna say.
It's a strong review. It's a strong review. I like For A Few Good Men probably the most out of his out of his movies, to be honest, and I think that's probably a 9.5 out of 10 for me.
All
So
right,
that's kind of
Brian.
my scale.
All right, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Do you want to see a dead body?
Oh God, again. And I say that because I worked at a old
I
Pierce
mean,
Arson
this
retirement
is
home for like 18
we are going
months.
it. I mean that is an oddly dark joke given we're talking about Rob Reiner, but we are going to be talking about Stand by Me, a movie that I think I mean, it was
It
poignant
feels like it's
before.
a horror movie, but it's not a horror movie, but it really feels like it is at times.
You know what it is? Is so here's the thing. Like obviously Rob Reiner dying sucks, but it's River Phoenix being in Stand By Me that makes it feel.
Is it because he's like haunted and it like this whole trip like haunts them and it's like a dead body that haunts? Because that's the
I
feeling
mean,
it's like
no, it's
dread.
what happens to River Phoenix dying prematurely is what makes us feel like a horror
Okay,
movie.
well, for me,
Because
like
you know what happens to River Phoenix.
okay, for me, the vibe is like, I don't know, something about like knowing there's a dead body and you want to go find it. It's so morbid to me. You know what I mean? But like,
I mean,
I
it is
don't
a
know.
Stephen King. It is a Stephen King vibe.
Right,
So
but
I
it's a
can see
drama
that.
and it's not necessarily a horror. You know what I mean? But it to me, like the stuff that scares me is like
It is a
realistic
great
stuff.
coming of age. And when I watched Stand By Me, I really noticed how much Stranger Things ripped off of Stand By Me. Like
Oh, for
clearly,
sure, for sure.
like there's so much.
Yeah,
And
and I just want
hopefully,
to point out too that the four movies that you did pick are like four distinct genres, so that kind of shows you the wide range of Rob Reiner in terms of like
I mean,
his.
that's why I looked at this one in particular. I was like, this is four genres. Like one of the movies I haven't seen before, so it really will be. It's a really great opportunity to explore the depth of his career, and that's what we are going to do next week, as we will be discussing Stand By Me. Any other thoughts, Brian, before we head out of here?
Um, yeah, Andre the Giant did a job to Otto Vance, so look that up because I didn't even know that. But I guess that was when he was like
Word, man.
jobbing out. Like, he was jobbing out to Inoki around that time because he knew that he was on his last, gonna do his last WWF run. So I guess he was kind of like settling old feuds around the world before. But yeah, just a little trivia note: he jobbed to Otto Vance in 1987.
All right, for Brian, I'm Jerome. Thank you so much for listening. We will talk to you again next week.